Well, this game was not competitive at all. This was fairly an easy game for the Lightning, coming into Sunrise and with the purpose of not going down 3-0 for the second year in a row. And they have responded in a big way. They finally able to beat the Panthers 5-1. The only sole goal for the Panthers was early in the game, and this was frustrating. This was a frustrating game to watch, but it's only the first loss of the series. But you can't help but to feel somewhat nervous for the next coming one because it seems like the Lightning knows how to respond and knows how to get a big win from the goaltending, which was Vasilevsky. He had a 33 save day against the Panthers. And the Panthers were shooting a lot more than they were. 34. Okay, 34 shots on goal for the Florida Panthers. Vasilevsky saved 33 of them, and some of those should have went in. Those are high quality, dangerous shots from the Panthers, and they weren't going in. Meanwhile, you got the Lightning players like Nick Paul got a pretty lucky bounce into the back of the net. But that's not the reason why we lost this game. The reason why we lost this game is just some of the defense thing from the Florida Panthers. And even with full strength, and Barkov, thankfully he was able to play through what happened in game two. The Aaron Ekblad returns. Hello. But you can also think that maybe Ekblad was kind of was tiny bit of the reason that Nick Paul was able to get that bounce in. You can also point that to Bobrovsky. Although, I don't know. That was a wonky bounce to the back of the net from Nick Paul's shot that went into the back of the net, just completely flabbergasted. I feel like Bobrovsky there was looking for that high angle, but ended up being low because that tip from Aaron Ekblad from Nick Paul. But that was just unlucky for the Florida Panthers and the Lightning. My goodness. Man, Matthew Tkachuk gets the first goal of the game after a Lundell wrist shot, which was stopped by Vasilevsky. Aaron Ekblad, welcome back. Matthew Tkachuk was able to get one in. He was able to, so that roared the crowd, which I love. Ed Rodriguez got his first assist of the playoffs, and Sam Bennett's second assist of the playoffs. Third goal of the playoffs with the backhand is Matthew Tkachuk. It was wide open from the right side. I don't feel like it's a lucky bounce. And I don't feel like it was offside either. It was close. It was close to an offside. I think he was just barely on. And I think John Cooper was looking at that replay and thought about challenging it. But I think it was wise to them to keep the challenge. And I say so respectfully. But for the rest of the game, Tampa has woke up. They have woke up with the goaltending, which was Vasilevsky, and Florida just could not see the back of the net ever again. They just weren't. Brad Marchand gets called for a cross-check against Gergensons. And why? I understand the cross-check, but Shafi started all. He pushed him, and there was a retaliation. But yeah, let's give the penalty to Brad Marchand. It's a stupid call. But anyway, this power play for the Lightning was killed off. No shots on target at all. No shot on targets at all for the Lightning. Not even a shot attempt. Even if there was shot attempt, it was blocked by their own teammate, Darren Radish. So this power play is killed off. Barkov nearly gets it in for a backhand, which was stopped by Vasilevsky. I said in the last video that he was going to come back with a vengeance. He's going to score. Of course, he didn't do that because I had full confidence in him. Barkov did not score this. He didn't even get a point in this game. What the heck was that? Seth Jones with the snapshot that was stopped by Vasilevsky. Reinhardt's tipping was stopped and robbed by Vasilevsky. Not getting the puck into the back of nets, especially the way how our offense was shooting the puck. Verhaeghe, off the rebound, Verhaeghe. Marchand with the snapshot, which was stopped by Vasilevsky. We always got to look at Gensel. But then finally, 17-15. After the Reinhardt's wrist shot, which was stopped by Vasilevsky, Tampa scores to tie it up. He's assisted by Kucherov. That's his second assist of the playoffs. Originally, this was a Braden Point assist and a Jake Gensel's goal, but they changed it at the third period. They changed this at the third period. Instead, now they're saying Gensel gets the first assist of the playoffs. Apparently, the puck deflected off Braden Points. I mean, I guess so. I think it did. I guess they did. And I guess they saw that late and then they changed it. But at the time though, Gensel, I thought for sure was the sole reason why they got that goal. And I looked at it again and like, yeah, well, wouldn't they give that to Braden Point? Then I realized they did that in the third period. But either way, it's still bad news for the Panthers as Braden Point gets his second goal of the playoffs and Tampa Bay ties it up 1-1. Nikita Kucherov gets a roughing call against Sam Bennett. Anytime you take somebody down like that during the scrum, that's going to be called. So Florida goes on the power play. This power play will carry over to the second period as the Panthers power play continues. Not a single shot on target. In fact, there was more shorthanded chances than shots on goal for the Panthers. Not a good power play for the Panthers. Karnak with the wrist shot, which will stop Bobrovsky. Darren Radish with the wrist shot, that will stop Bobrovsky, and this power play would be killed off. I think there was one more with Gunsel's tip-in, but either way, Bobrovsky stopped that one. This penalty is killed off. No special teams, but what an infuriating power play for that was. It seems like both teams can't get a power play goal. And especially after games one and was it game one? Yeah, game one. Braden Point with the poke and off the rebound from the poke and try to bat it in, but Bobrovsky stopped both of them. Anthony Cirelli with the fight. There was a fight that happened, and then Cirelli gets called for a cross check against Aaron Ekblad after Aaron Ekblad tries to shoot the puck towards Vasilevsky. This is a golden opportunity for the Panthers to get this power play goal. Again, Brandon Hagel suspended for this game. Actually, I shouldn't say again. I forgot to point out that the Brandon Hagel is suspended for this game after a pretty lane-wasting hit on Barkov. Cirelli gets in the box for a cross against Ekblad. So a golden opportunity for the Panthers because they're without their top penalty killers. Did they score? No, they didn't. Frustrating power play. Sam Sarkevich with the wrist shot to try to get him off the rebound. I shouldn't say rebound. Tried to tip it home, but that went wide. But it was able to get that second chance. Vasilevsky has that one, and Brad Marchand with the wrist shot didn't get anything in. And this power play is killed off actually even then. 30 seconds later after the power play was over, Mackey, Sam Sketch with the trip against Kucherov, and that looked like where even in the pucks in the proximity, you can't put your knee out to somebody. You cannot do that at all. So the Lightning goes back on the power play. Victor Hedman with the wrist shot that was stopped by Bobrovsky. Gunsel with the wrist shot that was stopped by Bobrovsky, so they stopped it. And the power play is killed off. There was a good penalty kill by the Panthers. And then trying to clear the puck, couldn't do it, and this happens. I already talked about it when I started it, but I didn't spend much time detailing it, what really transpired. So when the puck was going towards mid-ice, the puck ends up staying at the Panthers zone as Nick Paul was right there. But McDonough and Gonçalves with the puck to give it to Nick Paul. And the Panthers defense, even though Ekblad tried, what the hell was Lundell doing? He's just right there letting Nick Paul get by. I guess he was thinking offside, but no, he wasn't offside. He just stood there, let Nick Paul go past him. Ekblad tried to do a little block, but that ends up hurting the Panthers because of that bounce I just talked about early in the video that got by Ekblad and then got by, and worst of all, got by Bobrovsky. That shot was going to be wide, but then that unlucky bounce off the pad of Bobrovsky went to the back of the net for Nick Paul to get his first playoff goal of the series. That's crazy. But even still, Lundell, why are you just letting him go by like that, dude? You're better than that. Anyway. Panthers are now down by a point. Lightning with their go-ahead goal. This will wind up being a game-winning goal because the Panthers could not get anything else, like I said. Naismith tries to get a response in, but that was stopped by Vasilevsky. Marchand with the backhand was stopped by Vasilevsky. Gunsel with the tip in, that was stopped by Bobrovsky. Rodriguez with a snapshot. And in 1822, Matthew Tkachuk with the wrist shot that was stopped by Vasilevsky. And then after that, Matthew Tkachuk with a shove from behind towards Victor Hedman. And Victor Hedman's their captain. So the Lightning fans will be pissed off at this. As Tkachuk once again doing scummy things. And I guess what he's trying to do is trying to get the crowd up or trying to get the Panthers team to wake up and then get fucking moving. But he pushes off Victor Hedman and then Rodriguez, and the whole thing just went to war. Lightning and Panthers war continues. Everyone's beating the shit out of each other. Rodriguez and Connor Geeky definitely were beating the shit out of each other. They both were taken down. And I love the commentators. And Kenny Albert, they're saying things like, oh, it's not as good as the Washington Capitals and Montreal Canadiens fight. That was wild. Did you see that fight when they went to the bench? This is not as good, but I'm just saying. Anyway, Rodriguez and Geeky were both called for a roughing. Matthew Tkachuk with another penalty, which would be an extra minor, and Tampa Bay Lightning goes on yet another power play. Braden Point with the tip in with the tip in that was stopped by Bobrovsky. Kucherov at the slap shot that was stopped by Bobrovsky. I think you could see Kucherov's frustration of not getting much in. Then the second period ends, and Cirelli with the roughing call against Sam Reinhart. This was also when Kucherov did a little shove on Seth Jones. Cirelli would get a roughing call though. It'll be a 4-on-4 to start the third period, and this was probably the worst period I've seen for the Panthers in a while. 4-on-4 game starts the third period, and they score pretty much instantly. He is assisted by Ryan McDonagh. That's his third assist of the season, and Nikita Kucherov with his third assist of the playoffs. Jake Guentzel bats this puck in when Bobrovsky lost his stick. I guess he was more concentrated on the stick, trying to get the stick back. And that puck came in the flash, went through the mask and that little gap at the top left corner of the net. And Guentzel scores. That's his second, apparently his second of the playoffs. I thought it'd be his third at that point, but my God, that was a rough one. That goal was rough to give up. And now the Lightning are up 3-1. Panthers go on the power play. Barkov with the wrist shot that was stopped by Vasilevsky. Lundell with the wrist shot that was stopped by Vasilevsky. This power play would be killed because of that Cirelli penalty, almost committing. Actually, I think I can't remember no more. This was a little blur. But Panthers would be on the power play for a short term. That penalty would be killed off. Either way, they didn't score on this power play. And then immediately after the power play ends, another freaking penalty given up by the Panthers. This is a tripping call on Loserina to Eric Karnak. And the Panthers are now going back to the penalty kill. Which they did. They did kill off this penalty. Only one shot on target, which was a tail end of the power play, which was Nick Paul's tip-in, which was stopped by Bobrovsky, and that penalty is killed off. But Nick Paul wasn't giving up. He was trying to backhand it, but that was stopped by Bobrovsky. Nick Paul with the holding call against Aaron Ekblad. The third period just went chaotic, went to war. They were fighting each other pretty much majority of the third period. Battle of Florida. I'm telling you, this is probably going to be ranked as the best rivalry in the 2020s. Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. But yeah, another power play for the Panthers. They got a shot on target, which was Barkov. Our shots were getting blocked by Ryan McDonagh. But Barkov tries to wrist shot home, but that was stopped by Vasilevsky because, of course, Sam Bennett, after the penalty was over with the wrist shot that was stopped by Vasilevsky. And now frustrations continue. Just frustrations continue on with this game. So many hits towards each other and a lot of blocked shots from the Lightning. They're blocking the shots. J.J. Moser and Ryan McDonagh, they're blocking the shots. That's what kept the Lightning within. But 14-19, They get the puck and they score, and this would finish the game ultimately. Goncalves with the third assist of the playoffs. Yanni Gord with his first assist of the playoffs, and off the wrist shot is Luke Glennon with his first playoff goal of the year. Luke Glennon would pretty much put the finishing touch in this one, and the Panthers are now down by 3. But yet they decide to do a empty net. They decide to do an empty net. Bobrovsky gets off the ice, and Cirelli would score pretty much instantly. He's assisted by Kucherov. That's his 4th assist of the playoffs, and Gunsel's 2nd assist of the playoffs. And off the wrist shot to the empty net is Anthony Cirelli with his first goal of the playoffs. But when he was going to shoot that puck, Matthew Tkachuk comes in and pretty much cross checks and interferes with Jake Guentzel. It was a blindside hit. Now I know the Lightning fans are really pissed off about this and calling us hypocrites on Brandon Hagel's hit on Barkov. I'm not going to defend it. That was a dumb move. I don't know why Tkachuk did that. That is a piece of shit thing to do. When you're down by a few points, this is clearly a frustrating hit from Matthew Tkachuk to Jake Guentzel. Guentzel having himself a blast in this game, getting 3 or 4 points. I think he got 4 points, if I'm being straight with you. Matthew Tkachuk laid waste on Guentzel. This is a targeting on the back kind of move message from Matthew Tkachuk. That is clearly the thing from Matthew Tkachuk. I'm not defending it. I am not going to defend it. That is a piece of shit move. When the game is out of reach, that's something that Tkachuk was just like, I don't give a shit. And the whole place just went to war again. So Matthew Tkachuk gets 5 minutes of interference, much like the 5 minutes that Brandon Hagel got in Game 2. So I guess it evens out, I guess. I guess the one way we figured out if Matthew Tkachuk will even play Game 4, is he going to be suspended? Because he was done for the game. There's 5 minutes left of this game. He got 5-minute major. He was done for the rest of the game. The question is, will he play in Game 4? I think there's going to be a hearing on Matthew Tkachuk tomorrow or something like that. So Tampa Bay, for the rest of the game, is on the power play. And then a fight broke loose with Anthony Cirelli and Nico Mikula, another war. And both players are sent off. Both of them got ejected from this game with the misconduct. And that pretty much wraps up this video. There was shots on targets. Victor Hedman with the snapshot. That was stopped by Bobrovsky. Mackie Sansakevich with the backhand. That was stopped by Vasilevsky. Nico Sturm with the wrist shot. Gustav Forsling with the wrist shot. More short-handed chance, but what can you do? Nico Sturm with a tip-in and Gustav Forsling with the wrist shot. All of them were saved by Vasilevsky, and that's your final score. 5-1 Lightning. 5-1 Lightning in this game. This is an unsettling feeling for the Panthers, especially for myself. This is an unsettling feeling to have this bad game at home. They're looking to tie it up on Monday. Hopefully the Panthers could figure it out. They have to make at this point now. They got to make some adjustments for Game 4. They got to do it. You don't want it to be that situation where you're looking good and then you just flat out stink for the rest of the playoffs. We got to be like the Lightning in 2021. Okay, they win the first 2 games on the road. Panthers win one on the road. In Tampa, and then they win game 4. Albeit we win Game 5, but we lost in 6. Let's do what they did to us in 2021. Let's do that. We gotta finish this series at 1 point. At least, I will say this though, I think it alleviates more of a pressure for being up 3-0. Because imagine the same feeling that they're gonna do against us again if we're up 3-0. And then ends up doing a reverse sweep. I don't think I can take that no more. But I did say, I did say that we're not gonna sweep. I did say that, right? That's a promise. In fact, that is a promise I made. Anyway, when we look at the team stats, 34 shots on targets, like I said, 22 shots on target for the Lightning. That is frustrating. And 5 of those were in the back of the net. 4 of them were given up when Bobrovsky was on the net. 43 hits for the Panthers, 34 hits for the Lightning, 35 faceoff wins for the Lightning, 26 faceoff wins for the Panthers. Penalties, let's talk penalties. 6 penalties for the Lightning, 7 penalties for the Panthers. 25 faceoff wins for the Panthers, 28, or not 28, imagine 20 penalty minutes for the Lightning, but once again, 5 power play opportunities for the Lightning. They got nothing. Neither did the Panthers. They got 4 power plays in this game. That's 1 more in game 2. But they didn't capitalize anything. And the 1 power play in the second period when Sorelli was on the box, they should have had it in. That was their golden opportunity. You didn't do it. 23 block shots for the Lightning, 17 for the Panthers, 7 takeaways for the Lightning, 4 takeaways for the Panthers, 20 giveaways for the Lightning, 11 giveaways for the Panthers. And stars of the game, Andrei Vasilevsky with 33 saves. That's 971 save percentage. 2 stars goes to Jake Gunsell with 1 goal, 2 assists. So he has 3 points in this game. Brayden Point gets 3 stars in this one as what a disaster game 3. Disaster game 3. I'm already seeing the type in the comments type of thing about the Matthew Tkachuk hit. I'm already going to see that happen. I know it. But now there will be a game 5. I told you in the preview, in my prediction, that it was absolutely going to be necessary for a game 5 or 6. And game 5 is necessary. It's going to be on ESPN 2, 7:30. Face-off at Amalie Arena in Game 5. But Game 4, it will be on Monday, 7 o'clock. They have to respond. They got to respond from this game. Panthers has to play angry against the Lightning, especially when it's playoffs. But again, we'll see what happens with Matthew Tkachuk, but what a disappointing game for the Panthers. They're better than that. All right, man. Well, that's good doing this one. I will talk tonight. Maybe we'll talk football. That might be a tomorrow's thing, but we got 1 more game tonight. That's all the way at 9:30. Yeah. So we got the rest of the day in between, but man, this was a shitty start of the day. Shitty start of the day, but let's hope things turn out for the better, man. All right, man. Well, that's good to do for this one. If you like this one, please hit that like button, subscribe for content because Miami 2GS are back. And I'll see you guys next time. Everybody have a great day and chin up. It's game 3. It's only the first loss. There's always chance for a bounce back. All right, have a good one.